I use this program called Typinator on the Mac. There are several different programs on the Mac, and there are quite a few, I think, on the Windows side, but since I'm not in Windows anymore, I'm using Typinator. I like it because it allows you to use shortcuts, and if you see in their little window here, they're typing in these little tiny shortcuts, and then a whole bunch of text appears. And so that's what I like to do, and I have a bazillion different keystrokes set up in order to simplify my editing, because quite frankly, I type a lot of the same stuff over and over and over. And so using shortcuts, and you may be familiar with the iPhone and the iPad, that you start typing and it might suggest words to you. Well, that's a very similar thing. That's what's happening here, except you get to process not just words, but entire phrases or sentences or as much text as you want to put in there. So I'm going to bring up the Typinator window, which was always active. It actually appears up in the toolbar on the Mac if you want to get to it that way. But here's the Typinator window, and you see I've got a boatload of abbreviations. And let me just show you, for example, if I go over to this blog post in Safari, let's say, for example, you want to do an H1 header. Well, I have one called H1, and I put a dot after it to identify it. And so Typinator inserts the text for H1, and now I get to type. And it just fixed my I from a lowercase I to an uppercase I. And you see how that happens rather quickly. And so I've got all sorts of keyboard shortcuts set up, like say I want to do a header rule. So I do HR period, and it expands out to what you see there. When I do a blog post, and I don't know if you've seen the video yet, but I actually insert ads into my text with a plugin called, what's it called? Ad Rotate. Thank you. Couldn't think of it there for a second. And in order to get a blog post started, I have a Typinator shortcut set up called blog post, or bpost. And if I type in those characters, then Typinator inserts the ad groups that I have set up. It inserts an H1 tag below the first group of ads, then it types in H2. I always try to give photo credit, so I have a little short snippet for that. And bingo bango, I've got my entire formatting for my post set up to go. And so then all I have to do is start adding the introductory paragraphs, blah, 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 typing in lousy text, and off I go. So like I said, I've got a bazillion different keyboard shortcuts that I use all the time. For example, my camera blog is about the Canon 5D Mark II. Obviously, that's a lot to type all the time, so I have a C5D keystroke that types that for me. And I think, obviously, the more you get used to this, the more you start thinking about it, you'll see that you type the same characters, the same keys, the same words. You know, I have keystrokes set up for my phone number, my signature, my email address, all kinds of different things that you type over and over. And so look for a program called Typinator. There's also one on the Mac called Type It For Me, I believe, is very similar to Typinator. Before I forget, one of the things I really like about Typinator, and I'm going to type the Control Return key here, and up at the very top of my screen pops up this little dialog box. And one of the issues with Typinator, of course, when you see all of the different, let me bring this back up, you see all of the different abbreviations I have set up. One of the things you're saying to yourself, and my wife says this all the time, how the heck do you remember all of those? And don't let me forget to show you this too, by the way. I'm going to show it to you right now while I'm here. You have these different let's just do a new one. It'll make a lot more sense if we do a new one. Let's say I'm going to do, and I typed Command N to do new, and I'm going to just come up with one off the top of my head. And let's go back. We're going to do that H1 thing, H1, and then close the H1 tag. Obviously, I already have something for this, but let's say I want the cursor to always appear in between the tags after it's typed. If you go over to this little side menu, you can put in the cursor position. So it will insert these characters, and then once you execute that shortcut, and obviously this one is not going to work very well because I've got a different confliction here. A conflict. But you get my point. You can insert those kind of things. You can also insert the day, time, month, year. You can also paste in the clipboard thing. You can also do formatted text. So if you want to do bold, you can, in fact, you can paste in previous example I was working on. I think I still have it on the clipboard. Yes, I do. Formatted text, and I paste this in. Look, all of that formatting would go right in. So if I did, let's say I want to do DTG period as my shortcut, and I type in DTG, and I get all of my formatting that comes along with that. All right, so now I started to show you the control return. So I can't remember what my keystrokes are. For example, that particular one happened to have the words ditto gear in it. But I remember the words are in the shortcut somewhere. So if I come up here and start typing ditto gear, it will show me all of the shortcuts for that phrase. Notice there are only 2 of them. And you see earlier I had done one for ditto gear, and they like it with some camel casing, so I like to not have to type the capital D and the capital G. So I just type lowercase everything, and typinator replaces the whole thing for me with the right case structure. So I don't have to remember all that. So I have shortcuts for all sorts of stuff. Like I even showed you before you saw it happen. Let me go back and select all this text. And I like to not hit the shift key, so I put in a shortcut for I space, which goes in and makes that be a capital I space. Because none of the existing programs like on the Mac would automatically fix that for me. So it saves, again, typinator saves me time in creating my own shortcuts. I don't have to type a whole bunch of text. I can do a whole bunch of pre-formatting, and it's highly worth the $35. I believe it's $35. Let's go back and look what their current pricing is. It's $19.99 in euros. I think that works out. Let's go to pricing. How about we go to pricing? What a great idea. So they currently have it priced in euros. Isn't that interesting? So they're over in Europe. So it's $19.99 in euros, whatever that converts to in your particular currency. Anyway, highly advise. Go to ergonis.com, look for typinator, or look for another particular product that does something similar on the Windows or the Mac side, and learn to use those shortcuts because, like I said, it will save you time. And what is time but money? So go get typinator and save yourself some time.